pick up the phone. Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, I was thinking about, I'm like, is this like a story time video? You know, I wasn't sure. Ultimately, I think I've decided it's a FaceTime call. That's what this is going to feel like, because this is a conversation piece. It's not necessarily a story time, although tea will be spilt in this video. A little bit of drama will be talked about. What's up, guys? I just got off of work. I had my little Wednesday bar shift, and there's some things that I've been wanting to chat with you guys about. I always wait about a week if I'm ever speaking about something that I intend to make public or put on my platforms. I don't ever want to speak from emotion. First, I want to give a little disclaimer. In no way, shape, or form am I feeling the need to explain myself or respond to ignorance or hate. Anything and everything I talk about in this video, I am speaking to my genuine supporters, the people that are happy to be here, the people that respect me and the decisions that I make for my life and myself and my child and my family. That is who this is for. I just want to have a conversation for the people who support me, because I share my life with you guys. And so I'm gonna continue to do that, because I can already hear the comments that say, you don't need to explain yourself, Abby. You don't need to do that, which I do appreciate, but I'm not feeling the need to explain myself. I want to chat and I want to talk about the trip to my respectful, supportive subscribers. I hope that makes sense. So without further ado, let's talk about the drama around this trip to California, shall we? All right, friends, brief pause on the video because I want to quickly introduce today's video sponsor, and that is BetterHelp. If you are familiar with my content, my page, you may have heard me speak on BetterHelp before. However, if you have never heard of it, BetterHelp is essentially an online therapy platform. It is an app, and BetterHelp's goal is to make therapy more affordable and accessible. There is a reason BetterHelp stood out to me the first time I heard about it and learned about what the app consisted of and what it was designed to do. And it's for a very specific reason. And I'm going to spare you the details, but to make a very long story short, my very first time attempting therapy was not a good, I got a horrible first impression of therapy. You know, and I know there's other people out there that have had not so great first impressions with therapy. And unfortunately, sometimes it scares people out of therapy entirely. This was kind of the situation I found myself in. I did not like therapy. I was resentful at it because of my initial experience with it. You don't have to worry about that with BetterHelp, because if you get a therapist that you are just not meshing with or you're not feeling super comfortable with, you can switch. Keep trying until you find the therapist that works for you at no additional cost. You don't have to be clinically depressed to want or need a therapist. We are humans going through this life who struggle every single day. Things come up that are completely out of our control. Things that have nothing to do with who we are, our character, and sure as hell, not our strength or lack of. It is so easy to sign up, right? You sign into this app, you're going to fill in some basic information, and you are matched with a therapist. It's that easy. And if you're not ready or comfortable to start with, face-to-face chats, you can start with phone chats. For any of my subscribers who may be interested, I have provided a special link that BetterHelp gave us in the description box below this video. It will give you 10% off your first month if you want to try it out. I truly want to thank BetterHelp for supporting my page, and I really, really hope that this benefits someone, even if it's just one person. So if you're interested, don't forget to check out that description box. Click that link for 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, and let's just jump right back into the video. So the first thing that I want to say here is everything was going well. In terms of like me posting and sharing my experience and my trip to California with you guys, up until I started posting Taylor Swift content. That is when it felt like all hell broke loose. That is when I felt like, oh, like just I have to be honest, I was very shocked. I've been very fortunate here on YouTube to have such incredible supporters and friends. That's something that I constantly acknowledge and that I'm very, 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 very grateful for. I talk to my other content creator friends about this. I talk to my family. I was just talking to my brother about this. I just was with him at the wedding that we went to last month in North Carolina, and he was expressing his concern for me as someone who shares their life publicly online, just in the sense of like mental health and how mean people can be, and he worries about me. And I explained this to my brother as well, that I am very fortunate in the sense that I really don't get like a crazy amount of hate. That's not to say that I don't get any, because I do. I also feel that I do I have to give myself some credit. I feel that I do a very good job at setting mental, emotional boundaries. Like, I just won't look. If I notice a comment section getting out of hand, I just don't look. I don't turn the comments off. I just don't look, right? I do, however, understand that not everybody can operate that way. I have friends in this industry that do what I do who are unable to do that. If they hear there is a Reddit page made about them, or if they see horrible comments, they just have to know, they just have to look. I could not be more of the polar opposite. Like, in my head, I'm like, I'd rather not ruin my day. Thank you very much. I'd rather not become insecure, self-conscious about my body. I'd rather not. And here's why, because people's opinions of me have nothing to do with me. They have nothing to do with me. Nor do I respect the opinions of people who are unkind and disrespectful. Now, there are also times where I've had really incredible followers who are like, hey, Abby, this is, and I'm like, oh my God, you're right. Like, there's a clear difference between your supporters and the people who care, and the people who are telling you things because they care, and people who are just hateful. I don't care about the opinions of those people. I don't care if those people don't like me. I don't like everybody. I don't expect everybody to like me. And that's just the truth of it all. I want to get to know you guys more. I want you guys to get to know me more. And I think these types of situations and reacting and responding to the right people in the right way continues to build our relationship further. And that's what I want to do. That's all I want to do. So now that has been clarified, let's jump in, babe. Okay, so the first thing I would like to clarify to you guys regarding the trip to California is this trip has been in the works for a little while, in terms of just like, we've been talking about it. Brittany, for those of you that don't know Brittany, because she's not on YouTube, she's on TikTok, she's on Instagram. Brittany's been in the game longer than me. I've known her for a while. We've been mutuals for a while on TikTok. Brittany and I have some things in common, which is nice. We are both sober, which I'm sure some of you saw from the videos I posted with her. And then she also has a daughter. Our daughters are pretty close in age. So our main goal with this trip was like one last hurrah mother-daughter trip before school began. So it was going to be me and Brittany and our daughters, where Mila would benefit in a few ways, which is why I was so excited to take her on this trip. Number one, Mila would get to meet and have a friend in her life who has a mom who does the same thing I do for a living. I think that would be helpful for Mila, a sober mom who does the same thing. And so that was number one. Number two, for those of you who don't know, the first time I ever attempted to get sober, I went out to California. I had spent time back and forth from Pittsburgh to Cali trying to get sober on and off for a couple years. Crazy, I have a lot of relapses involved in my story, so it's a little all over the place. But I spent the majority of my time trying to get better in California. Ultimately, I ended up getting sober here in my hometown, which is insane. The first time I went to treatment here in Pittsburgh, I've been sober ever since. So that's a whole nother story, but I ultimately had to learn that I was running from myself, and wherever you go, there you are. And so, that was something that unfortunately took many years to learn. Mila doesn't remember details of anything. By the grace of God, my daughter was young enough that when I was in active addiction, she was too young, she doesn't remember it. Now, with that being said, Mila remembers her mom being gone. And that's heartbreaking. And although she may not remember details, that doesn't mean that my absence and me going away to try to get help and get better didn't affect her, because it did. And so another part of me felt like this trip would be an incredible healing opportunity for Mila and I. Mila's never been to the West Coast. So there were a lot of reasons, a lot of healing, and a lot of really good, beneficial reasons why I wanted Mila to come on this trip. One of the biggest things I want to clarify in this video: I had absolutely no idea we were going to the Taylor Swift concert. Upon booking this trip, buying the flights, packing my luggage, I had no idea I was going to end up going to a Taylor Swift concert on the last night before going back home to Pittsburgh. I had no idea. It wasn't until I got out there that Brittany brought to my attention, hey, there's Taylor Swift will be here Saturday night. You'll be here. That could be a really fun thing for us to do. We don't have tickets. It's crazy. We might not get in, but is that something that you'd like to try? And me being me, I'm like, girl, I'm that friend that's down for anything. If we can't get in, shit, we'll take pictures in the parking lot. We'll get to hear her voice. And then we can go have fun in LA. Go to a fun little restaurant. Like, I'm game, babe. I'm game to do fun, crazy things, especially as somebody who's sober, because it's like, that's what life's about. Give me the adrenaline. Give me the thrill, baby. But my point in saying that is to say this. If Mila's dad knew that we would go to a Taylor Swift concert, his response may and probably would have changed from no to yes, because that's a pretty incredible experience, right? But he didn't know that that was an option. Neither did I. I have not gone on a mom trip ever. Literally ever, you guys, ever. I have not gone on a mom's trip, a girl's trip, ever. Not in my sobriety, not since I've been a mother. I have been a mother for 8 years, 8+ years. I have been sober for 5+ years. I have gone on family vacations. I've gone to weddings. All of those things Mila was a part of. The last time I went on a girls trip, you guys, was on senior trip in high school. That was in 2013. 10 years ago, I went to Miami with my high school friends. Even then, it's funny because this trip wasn't meant to be a girls trip until I found out that Mila couldn't go, until Bobby said no to Mila coming. When Bobby said no, I went through like a range of emotions, right? First, I was a little bit angry. That was my first emotion, angry. And then the anger turned into resentment. And then the resentment and all those kind of negative feelings started to turn into acceptance, right? 417 right here, tatted on my fingers. Acceptance is the answer to all of our problems today. 417 is the page in the big book that talks about acceptance. I highly recommend reading it. You can even just Google the page, the AA big book, page 417. You don't have to be sober or struggling. You could just be a regular person. I'm telling you, it's an incredible read. You know, I knew I had to accept his answer, because once I could accept it, I could then try to respect it, right? And here's where the acceptance and then the respecting Bobby's answer came into play. Number one, I took Mila on a 10-day vacation to Myrtle Beach in the beginning of July. You guys know that. You saw the content for it. Our like quote unquote custody agreement, although Bobby and I are like super flexible and we just help each other. The agreement states that each parent gets to take the child on a 7-day vacation. 1 7-day vacation per summer. Each parent, okay? Again, we don't go by that. I'm just, it's all relative, right? So I take Mila on a 10-day vacation to Myrtle Beach in the beginning of July. Bobby has absolutely no issue with it. We go every year. However, this year is the longest we've ever gone. I decided to go balls to the wall this year. We're getting away. We're traveling. My biggest goal for this summer was to travel more with Mila. And I do feel like I accomplished that. So 10 days to Myrtle Beach. Bobby didn't complain. He didn't have one word to say about it other than, sure, go ahead, take her. Not to mention, not only was it a 10-day vacation, it was also on the 4th of July. So it was also during a holiday. Still, Bobby had no issue with it. Was grateful for that, appreciated it. Not even 2 weeks after we got home from Myrtle Beach is when my cousin's wedding was. That was in North Carolina. So that was a road trip that Mila and I took. You guys recently saw the content from that. So we were just there for a weekend. We were left Friday morning. We got home Sunday night. So we get home from the wedding, and this trip was to be 3 days later. 3 days later, right after the wedding. And those 3 days in between were my days with Mila. And as much as I'd love to say, well, you take her for these 3 days so that you can see her, they don't have that flexibility as they work full-time jobs. So my point here in saying this is Bobby's not some bad person who didn't let his daughter go to the Taylor Swift concert. We found out that we were going 100% for certain 2 hours before the show. Anybody who was in my live stream the day of the concert knows that as we were actively getting ready for the show, we were also actively trying to find tickets. There's another side to all of this, okay, in terms of the whole, I can't believe Mila didn't go. I can't believe you would go to a concert like that without your daughter. There were people who were genuinely saying, if my kid couldn't go, I would not have went. And I just want to say to that, I'm so sorry that you feel that way. Because I believe that this trip happened, and I told Bobby and Jade this when we returned home, but I believe the way this trip happened happened for a very good reason. Once I found out Mila couldn't go, that's when Brittany and I were like, you know what, let's just chuck it up as a girls trip. In fact, when I first found out Mila couldn't go, I wasn't gonna go. I prayed about it a little bit. I spoke to a couple people about it, my mother included. And at literally at the last minute, I said, you know what? I'm going to go anyways. I cannot tell you guys how much strength that took, because I still deal with mom guilt. And I learned that more than ever by going on this trip. I didn't realize how much mom guilt I still have from my past until I went on this trip. It was very eye-opening and it was very healing for me. Number one, when I decided, okay, I'm going to go anyways, even though Mila can't go, that made me physically ill. That was really hard for me to do. I felt wrong for it. It did not feel right. It didn't. And then I'm on the trip and, Brittany and I are just like casually chatting and she's like, like, when's the last time you've gone on a girls trip? I was like, in my adult life? Never. Now, after this trip was said and done, or even halfway through it, is when I started to come to some very, very important revelations. And that is that taking time for myself, having my own hobbies, going to shows, going to a concert, having a girls' dinner, or taking a girls' trip, all of these things in moderation with a good balance and schedule make me a better mom to Mila. I'm less impatient. I'm less frustrated. I'm less likely to lose my shit whenever I'm taking the time to do the things I enjoy or spend time with the people who feed my soul and make me happy, aside from my daughter, who is my whole entire world. And so for me, understanding that having my own life, aside from motherhood and my career, makes me a better mom, that right there became the secret equation for me personally to cancel out that mom guilt. The mom guilt is canceled out by the thought and the understanding that for me to take time to do the things I enjoy and have hobbies of my own and have a life of my own and balance and moderation makes me a better mom. So that's my secret equation. What's wild is I came to that revelation and I learned that because I went on this trip. So the trip is literally proof of that statement. That makes sense. This trip was very, very beneficial to me. Any decision I struggle with making for myself in motherhood, I try to use the same example or analogy, right? I visualize Mila being in my position, her being my age, in my exact position, calling me and asking me what she should do. Whatever my answer is to my child, what I think Mila should do is what I'm going to do. Does that make sense? Because children don't listen to what we say, they watch what we do. I could tell Mila something 35 times until I'm blue in the face. But if I'm doing something different, if my actions are the opposite, she's going to follow my actions, not my words. And that is why it is so important for me to watch what actions I take. Or is this something that I would want Mila to do? Is this something that I would recommend to her? If so, then that's what I need to be doing, right? We are mirrors, and it's kind of scary. It really is. It's the same thing in the sense of if we want to fix something within our child, unfortunately, we need to fix it within ourselves first, and that's not easy to do. And it's wonderful that children give us that boost, that push, and that incentive to change and be better. I did not realize how much mom guilt I suffer from. My entire life is revolved around Mila and benefiting Mila. And as great as that is, there has to be a piece in there for me, just for me, without it benefiting Mila per se. And that's hard for me to even say because I'm like, well, that doesn't even sound right. It's difficult for me. And a lot of that, again, is guilt from my past. I'm hoping that this helps another struggling mom. And it doesn't even have to be addiction. I think almost every mom has struggled with guilt at one point or another. That's really the ultimate goal here. So I hope that this clarified a few things for you. I was feeling very discouraged reading those comments. So yeah, that was kind of hard to see too. And after getting some sleep and then sitting on it for a little while, everybody is entitled to their own opinion. I'm publicly sharing my life, although I do think that every human being deserves respect, regardless of what they choose to do for a living. I believe that is everything that I wanted to cover in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you were able to come to a better understanding, maybe learn a little bit more about me. I hope that this video helps another mom. Yeah, let me know if you guys liked this style video. If you did, I'd be more than happy to do more of them. I love just kind of like chatting with you guys. If you're not already subscribed and you would like to be, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you hit the notification bell, you will never miss a fresh upload. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and for being here. It means more than you could ever know. Otherwise, I'd be talking to my damn self. And so, yeah, you guys mean the most to me. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I'll talk to you very soon. Mwah. Bye.